All right, Jay, Hal, you know Tempo Storm the best. As we get ready for game number 2, what battleground do you want to see from them?
At this point, I'm not 100% sure. They've tried so much during the opening stage that it really makes it hard to analyze this team now. Everything that we saw during league play for 9+ months, going into playoffs almost 10 months, it seemed like everything was figured out. They excel at second pick. They love Dragonshire. They go to this map. It's their favorite battleground. They do so many things well, countering drafts, playing into that second pick role. They said we're comfortable going to wherever other teams want, and they play that. So after the group stage, it seems like a lot of that has just kind of been wiped off the board, and they're like, let's start over. And it's really hard to break down where the strengths lie because it's been everything. And that game in particular, the Heroics, it just felt like they tried to do one thing while also doing the other, and it almost feels like you just need to go down that one path. And I agree with Kaldor in the way that they that we anticipated them playing it because we've seen success from that with other teams. We didn't see that. So there's no way to say, hey, we know what they were trying to do until we can actually talk to them and figure that out.
Kaldor, last thought before we go to the battleground?
It just feels they need to stop playing this disrespectful. You can't play into Dignitas like this. It might work against a lesser team, not against Dig. Like again, I repeat myself, group stage, you try the double support, it worked in the region, it's a little bit iffy, and then you measure it up against the international teams. And then at some point you decide, okay, it might work in that context on this map, but you have to adapt a little bit. And the strategy that I still like the most is when they played Macro and Cursed Hollow. That was a good attempt. It's an attempt that is execution heavy because it can never be forced into a fight, and it's tough against a strong opponent like Gen.G or Dignitas. But there's at least a concept behind it that I can look at and I can say, okay, this makes sense. You executed it well. If you do that a little bit better, I can see you win the map. But I look at the last composition and it's just, as we said, all over the place. And there is no real idea behind it that you can see and that is executed in the gameplay.
Well, let's see if Tempo Storm is going to go back to their roots here as battleground number 2 is ready to be pulled out. Where are we going? It looks like we will be heading to Towers of Doom. Tempo Storm will be having first pick. Dignitas will be having the battleground choice.
Yeah, Dignitas going to be happy with this map pick right here. This once again allows them to play that aggressive style, but also allows them to play the macro, which for the most part they weren't really too punished on. So they're going to have some pocket picks of their own that they can try and run. They've used the Abbot for solo support before, trying to dive into the idea of, hey, Tempo Storm, if you get crazy, we can do crazy things as well. So I'm expecting once again to sort of see the idea of a Medivh ban, very standard bans between these two teams, potentially the Abbot ban, but, you know, I can't see a world in which Tempo Storm right now, when they know that they could potentially get eliminated from BlizzCon, go, all right, we're going to play traditional, I say in quote marks, standard. Like, I feel like we're going to still see a lot of experimentation, but maybe tone down at least one dial.
I would expect a more normal game from them. It's a map that they played a lot in League play as well. Dignitas didn't play it as much. The thing is, you want to put off something crazy, for example, that Murky with an Abathur. If your 4-man still loses to your opponent's 4-man, then all they have to do is send one hero to babysit the Murky, and that's it. And I feel like that was a bit of a problem that they had. You need to, at least, if you want to go for these strategies, have a strong 4-man or 3-man that can trade into your opponent. That wasn't the case, but I expect a much more normal game from here then. That might for them mean, again, double support, but less experimental than what we've just seen.
Well, going against Dignitas, it was something I mentioned in the previous series as we get a Tyrande ban. Some excited fans about the normal pick there. But when you go against Dignitas, EU, they prioritize and utilize their solo laner. It's different than the way Korea does it, but you could argue that EU does it better, and they have Wubby, the single best undisputed solo laner in the game. And so for them, the way that they play around that, we already see the prioritization by banning Dahaka, which means that Wubby, their drafter, has an idea of what this team is going to do, and you can never question that. And there's a Zeratul pick, and we saw Snitch on that Zeratul previously, so strong. They also ran it with the Abathur comp themselves. It might just be baiting out a ban in the second ban.
The beauty of the Zeratul pick, too, is it's also interchangeable. You can put it in the top lane, you can also put it on Snitch there, depending on what this team needs exactly for it, as they see what Tempo Storm pulls out.
And I mean, you look at this, and the first thing that the first thought you have is immediately Jaina. You need to take care of her now. You can run into a Void Prison Apocalypse combo, so you need to either ban her out or pick her for yourself. So Tempo Storm should definitely ban her here, or there is a huge wombo potential for Dignitas. But you know, we talked a bit about Wubby, and Wubby is still following a pattern that we've seen in Europe from him. Whenever he gets a chance to pick his Urel, he jumps on Urel, and that we saw that in the last game. The impact that he has with that hero is crazy, and teams have not really shown a lot of respect to that here.
Well, the other thing is that even if Snitch does go down a different route, Wubby is a very good Zeratul player. So they have multiple things that they can do as the priority on that solo laner continues, targeting Glaurung. So no Dahaka, no Malthael, two heroes that we've known Dahaka to play quite a bit. bit. The Abathur ban comes out. Now let's see if we get that Jaina to pair with the Zeratul and Diablo, which we saw just a week ago.
And that's such a scary composition. If you see that right there, you're absolutely terrified. And I mean, the Zeratul does also fulfill the role that you would have with that Genji. You got that roam, you got the ability to always scatter information, which is what you're looking to try and achieve with this Medivh. There's a possible world here where Tempo Storm don't run a traditional support as such and go Tyrande and Tassadar. I don't want to say it's going to happen, but there's a part of me that goes, look, you need some kind of response to the Zeratul, otherwise he's just going to run rings around you.
Right, so we don't have the Jaina right away. That Jaina setup, by the way, is also what Dignitas ran on this particular map.
Yep.
Back then it was an Abathur solo support, so the Abathur ban on the side of Tempo Storm at least eliminates that. The problem is if you have the Zeratul on the other side, then Abathur, of course, emphasizes the danger that he brings to any lane even more so. And if you then have a strong top laner, you can easily turn that into a 1 versus 3 if he rotates over. But there's still the opportunity for the burst damage in the adjustment towards the end.
Wow.
Oh my.
Well, there's some lost Vikings. Again, we know that they're very strong on Towers of Doom, or they used to be. See if we get the Viking Hunter, because Jaina does pair well with Malfurion because of the Innervate. It doesn't even matter who this last pick is, because the way that Zeratul roams around, the best way to deal with Vikings is to have a Viking Hunter. Zeratul is one of the absolute best Viking Hunters you have.
He's so good because as a Viking player, you stare at the minimap the entire time, and if he's able to get that jump on you, he's going to pick you off, and you're not getting those region globes, and of course that's soak. Now with that being said, I like this draft from Tempo Storm. First off, we know that Vikings are great on Towers of Doom, but you have kill potential available for you. You have a strong 4-man. This is doable by them, but then again, it's Dignitas.
Also, that Vikings into the Zeratul kind of reminds me a little bit of BlizzCon last year.
Roll 20.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that didn't really work well back then. But I agree with you that that draft is at least a lot better. You have a strong 4-man that can really get the kills. You can lead with an Arthas. The carrying combo with Arthas existed for ages, 2015 already. Got nerfed since then with how much synergy they have, but it's still a great setup. So you can definitely get your kills here with the Tyrande on top of that too. The Vikings are fantastic to also get the altars, put the pressure onto the lanes. So from that aspect, I like it a lot more. But then again, you look towards Dignitas and there's a good combo potential, and you also have that Zeratul that can hunt down the Vikings.
And I mean, my only final concern though, Caldor, though, is you got the Sergeant Hammer coming in as that final 5th pick, and that is that surprise factor, right? You're thinking, look, how do I actually get threatened here if I'm Sergeant Hammer? You know, you're trying to bait out this ability coming out from Arthas or from Kerrigan. There's no real gap closer. Usually we send a Medivh to try and get these immobile tanks into that range. So you're looking at a situation right now where you're thinking, okay, Sergeant Hammer can sit back fine, she can poke from afar, she can do what she needs to do, and Zeratul can go around the map. So look, we're now winning that 4-man, and now we're also taking out your XP that you're trying to soak. And once again, it just feels like Tempo Storm are like, we've been drafted into a bit of a narrow corridor. I
mean, you don't even have to send the Blaze top lane. You can literally just like double soak with the Zeratul. You can have the Blaze together with the Hammer, and then how do you react into that 4-man? You get the bunker out whenever the engage comes. You have Hammer also with a space creation there, so just pushing your opponent back. So you can play it around that, and Zeratul gets the double soak plus the Vikings.
I feel like the Kerrigan has to be on point here. She is going to be stressed out because of that Sergeant Hammer. Let's go ahead and go into game number 2 and see if Tempo Storm can send us to a game number 3.
Tempo Storm will be the last hope here for North America. Skimming quite a unique draft in game number 1. More to the standard, but with the X factor, not the XYZ factor that we saw in the last game.
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy alphabet game, I'll tell you that much. We saw some wild picks and some wild drafts, but also some wild strategies. Not too sure what we're going to see coming out of this one, if it's going to be enough shabam when you have your life on the line here in a North American crowd here at BlizzCon. Fan looking to I suppose, jump into that experience from 2015 and say, now is that time for it to empower me.
Just picking up a win against the likes of Dignitas would be so big for them. We'll see as they get ready in just a moment.
On the left-hand side from Europe, it's JPL on Diablo. Whoopi on Blaze, Poik here on Sergeant Hammer, Snitch on Zeratul, and finally Zalia on Malfurion. This is your team here, it's Dignitas.
All hands on deck here for Tempo Storm, as it's going to be June on Tyrande. Vin will be on Raynor, giving him the pepper. Caterpillar on the front line. The Arthas has been very known lately. Fan will be on the Kerrigan, and Glaurung will be on the Lost Vikings. Give it up for Tempo Storm.
Really curious to see how Tempo Storm play this early game. It'd be a big tell of their confidence, their stress levels right now.
Well, the strategy for Dignitas in the draft really played out. They took away a lot of the diving, and as you mentioned, Skimmy, it's like, how do you get onto that back line? Poik with a nice knockback, the Kerrigan combo, the leap back in. There's going to be the stun, the roots, the heals, not enough. That's first blood for Tempo Storm.
Beautiful pickup there from Tempo Storm. This is what we need to see from them. It looks so good from Poik there with the concussive blast to get out of harm's way, but the fan jump comes across, he ravages him. And that's what we want to see, bounce between these lanes, really looking to exude some kind of, hey, we're here to play, we're not afraid of you.
For Dignitas, that 1 minute mark has passed. With the Vikings, you're able to hold one member in that top lane, so it's no longer that priority of getting that solo laner down. You can already see Wubby making his way down to that mid lane. He wants to be in quick rotation in case of Tempo Storm come in for that flank. And Cattle, they're very familiar with that style themselves. Cattle will thwart off the Blaze, but they will concede the Sapper camp for now, as Dignitas and Tempo Storm both pick those up early.
So what we're seeing so far is a 3-lane split with these Vikings. This allows Tempo Storm to respond with this 4-man by just going to any lane and never feeling threatened. This does obviously require Glaurung to be very disciplined with his ability to micromanage all of these. We're going to see it's this 4-man rotation. They come across. If CC lands, things will go across. But if it doesn't land, there is pressure on the other side as Dignitas can turn this fight around and they can look to get some kills of their own.
Well, Cattle is in deep. He's trying to survive, but that's going to be